This is Kagekaze bringing you more playthrough with the Barbarian. You may have noticed that I've already played a little bit more with the Barbarian as his gear is a little bit different. We actually have shoulders for him, but it's all with good cause, I assure you. He's only gained one level, level 9, which allowed me to get some of these gear here. So we've done this so we can kind of theory craft a bit with the Barbarian as we play through. Alright, let's pull up the chart here. Alright, what I've done is slotted my new skill, Rend. A very nice skill that does AoE damage, sweeping strike, all nearby enemies bleed for 210% weapon damage as physical over 3 seconds. A damage over a time effect, but very quick. So you'll notice the damage happening almost immediately. And what I like about it is that it actually, even though it's an area effect, a little bit like Hammer of the Ancients, it does a lot more damage comparatively. Even if you have to wait 3 seconds. So it's a very nice ability. And what we're going to do here is we're going to look over a bit about weapons, weapon speed, and how your DPS is affected by these. There's been some discussions on both the Diablo 3 official forums and the Diablo fans forums about it. And what you'll notice here is I have a DPS number that should be my raw DPS with my weapons. And as you can see here, I've got a nice 27.27 DPS with a nice mace with plus 13 strength. It says 16.8, and I've got some strength on the shield that I was using before. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go here to the Cathedral Garden. We're going to continue. And what I've got myself set up here is, this is kind of my two-handed build, but this is a decent build as well. With one-handed weapons and an offhand, I'm going to get nice stats because I've got the strength. But I can have a nice, even blend of abilities that I'm using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get Leap Attack, and I'm going to... I'll keep Rend for now, because I really actually like it. With one-handed weapons, you're most balanced. I can put out a decent amount of damage, while still having survivability. So the beautiful thing about having a shield is that it gives me a chance to block, and it gives me armor. Meaning I can get in the middle of a fray without having to worry too much. So I've chosen Bash here since I'm using a single one-handed weapon instead of Cleave like I was using before. Just kind of get in there. That was probably too far away for Rend. Get in close and use it again. So you can see I was able to just get right in there, didn't have to really worry about the damage too much. I didn't kill them terribly quickly, but they didn't kill me quickly either. There you go, there's Rend, very quick, 3-second damage, quite a bit of damage for these skeletons. In case you're wondering, this weapon I picked up through the crafting system. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and swatch out here to the second mace. You'll notice still 27.7, put that in, and we get to 30.57. Now the beautiful thing about using two weapons, and I had talked a bit before about not wanting to switch to two weapons right away, primarily because if you had a bad offhand, the DPS of your weapon is really important. You want to make sure that the DPS of the two weapons are fairly close, or the weapon with the lower DPS is going to hold you back. You're essentially looking at adding the DPS together and dividing by 2 to get the average. Since I'm still using one-handed weapons, I want to increase the strength of my individual strikes. Cleave is nice, but since I can attack quickly with two weapons, I don't see the need to have an ability that hits multiple enemies. But since I'm getting up close without a shield, I'm going to switch to Ground Stomp here. Now, one thing that's been talked about is when you are dual-wielding, there's an advantage. So, for example, if I've got two weapons that do 50 DPS, You know, average them out, it's still 50 DPS. But what if I had a two-handed weapon that's 50 DPS? What's the difference? Well, when you're using two weapons, you are given roughly a 15% attack speed increase because you have another weapon ready to go for another swing. So you can see here, I'm hitting fairly quick, fairly hard. The beautiful thing about attacking quick is you can make a build where you're fishing for procs, as it were, and some of you that are used to World of Warcraft might be used to this concept, where you're basically looking to attack quickly because you want something to happen. Maybe you've got an ability that only triggers a special effect, a percentage of your hits. Obviously, if you're attacking more often, then this ability is going to trigger more often. Not only that, but some abilities, when you rune them, which of course you put in these rune slots, they're not in the beta of course, may give you special procs on critical strikes. So two weapons with additional crit, some passives with additional crit, and you can actually fish for critical strikes. Even though your crits are not going to be as powerful as someone wielding a two-hander, you might get a string of procs that helps you more. See, I kind of like this combination. As you can see, even though I don't have a lot of skills, I can still come up with something that will benefit this playstyle. Using a single-handed weapon, I didn't need to stun them as much, so I just wanted to get right into the fray and use Leap. Here I don't have as much defense, so I'm going to use Ground Stomp instead. Stun them while I quickly tear them apart. So now what I'll do, since I've got a little bit of walk to explore here, I'm going to show you the benefits of the random crafting system. There's a two-handed axe that has 3 random affixes to it, or 2 random affixes with increased attack speed. I ended up getting this axe that has intelligence on it. So your primary stats are considered random affixes. So you don't have to worry about every weapon always having the same stats. You might randomly roll something, so you might see a wizard out there with a two-handed axe because he just happened to find one that had a lot of intelligence on it. Go ahead and stun them, make them bleed.
It was Lazarus. Of that I am certain. He alone had the king's ear, and whispered dark and evil magics into it, instilling the notion of an imminent attack by Westmarch. Afraid to speak against the Archbishop, the councillors nodded their empty heads in agreement, and sent us off to die.
Alright, before I got Rend, the ability I was actually using at the time, when I was leveling up to 9, I actually picked up Battle Rage. I was talking about not using passive buffs before, because everything dies so quickly, but what I found is with 2 weapons, swinging fairly quickly, these long cooldowns or big hit attacks like this 180 of Hammer of the Ancients, 180 of Weapon Throw, you know, granted, they do a lot of damage and they hit hard by themselves, but when you're using a one-handed weapon, they don't have quite the punch that you're looking for. So what I did to facilitate this is why I just used my two-handed weapons. I'll just go ahead and kind of slot it here. So instead of Rend, I'll use Battle Rage. It's only got a 30-second buff on it, so pretty much just tear through things, stun. Of course, when this comes off cooldown, you'll see where I just pretty much buffed my damage and just started tearing through everything with Bash. Of course, as you get more skills, you'll be able to make more diverse builds, but I did want to show off that even with this limited number of skills, I can still pull off something that's a little bit unique. Let's let it get a couple skeletons. So I'm just going to keep bashing, increase my damage. Just went from 20 to 40. 30s, stun them. or destroy them. And that's how I like it. So what I'll show you here is, you'll notice a little bit of DPS here change. That what I've heard is with two-handed weapons, you basically get a 15% damage buff, whereas when using two one-handed, you get a 50% speed buff. So it really depends on, are you going to want to be doing massive hits, or are you going to want to be hitting a lot? Honestly, it's going to be in playstyle. And one advantage of using two-handed weapons is also finding a single two-handed weapon that's good is honestly easier than finding two single-handed weapons that are good. In this case, I have two 16 DPS maces with decent strength procs on them. But that was from crafting, so that was easy to do. But what if there's a drop out there that I found that was double this, and I couldn't find another offhand that was good? Well, I would pretty much be restricted to using a single one-hand with an offhand item, because I wouldn't want to restrict my DPS. But if I found a single two-handed weapon, that would change everything. So what I'm going to do here is show you the DPS difference when I put on this two-handed axe. This has only got intelligence, it doesn't have strength, so I will be missing the 23 strength. But you'll see here the damage goes down by about 5. So it's still decent to have a two-handed weapon, but now let's equip this two-handed sword. Let's put these back on for comparison. Two-handed sword. Notice how these have 16, this has got 17. I have more strength benefit from these because that's 10 and 13, whereas this is just a flat 13. So the damage actually goes down. So you kind of see here, it kind of lies to you here in the tooltip where it says the damage would actually go up. You want to really look at your DPS, so put that there. As you can see, it does go down a bit. I do like the look of it. Alright, since I'm swinging a little slower, I'm going to go ahead and put cleave back on.
Still recharging.
I want to hit hard this time. So let's get weapon throw. That does a decent amount of damage. And should we do leap? It's between leap and ground stomp. Let's do leap. Since I'm swinging slowly, I kind of want to be able to get right there in the middle of the fray. As you can see, I'm just already cleaving through my opponents because my cleave is doing much more damage in one strike than I was doing with multiple strikes before. So my DPS may be lower, so in long fights I'm not going to do as much damage. But against these things that are dying quickly, that's not a big deal. So who knows? Maybe when you're playing, you'll want to carry some gear, or maybe even have a set build for clearing through a lot of trash, and then have another set build that you decide to switch to for killing a boss. Perfectly feasible. Since you only incur a 30-second cooldown now instead of needing to go back to town, you could always change your build right away. Play how you want to.
Not enough fury.
Change that around. Here we go.
Maintain your incantation.
Ave magistros, ave registras, ave leodastas, ave...
Your magic is I am free. Now, back to my mission.
Who are you?
You will know soon enough. Help me find my gear. I will reward you well. Tell me, what brought you to this infernal place?
I come to vanquish the Skeleton King.
As do I. The What made it?
I didn't do that.
So the benefit, of course, of having a harder hitting single weapon is leap attack will hit a little harder too. It's only 100% weapon damage. Still benefits.
Down this way.
He's still recharging.
I am Cor, warrior of the Templar. If it is the skeleton king you seek, then you will have to fight your way past the Templar. There is no reason we should hunt alone.
I know a Templar can be trusted. Together we fight.
Alright. Weapon throw is nice, but I was really liking Rend. Massive damage it does.
Black magic bars our way, but the will of a Templar is stronger. You were a Templar, John Dark. How could
See
you
how
succumb
quickly
to
this
this?
brings his life down. Not bad. Begin.
Please forgive me.
More fury.
My vision was clouded by the Covenant's evil magic.
Betrayal can never be forgiven. Thank you for your aid. I will go with you on your hunt for the Skeleton King. But there is one condition. If we find the sacred tomes of my order, they are mine. It is good to fight with you again.
Alright, I'm just going to go ahead and go back to the better weapons that I have right now. Serve me pretty well. I like how they have individual glows for their effects. 1 life per hit. It's pretty nice, plus the experience gain. Each hit adds 2. So, I feel kind of like a leech barbarian. Which I suppose was almost every barbarian in Diablo 2. Let's see. I don't need you to taunt, because I take it pretty well now. I take it good. You're going to heal me.
A worthy choice.
Not that I plan on losing health.
The light grows stronger within.
Alright, so level 10, I didn't really get to talk about level 10 in the last videos because they ended up getting skipped. Very nice. Level 10 unlocks your first passive slot. Wow, that Rend is very close range. Seems to go through shields, though. Three seconds, honestly, is a very quick dot. Makes this very spammable. Well, I suppose you need to time it right, of course. But alright, so you'll notice I didn't actually get any active skills. They give you a nice passive skill slot and 2 to choose from. So what do we have? Pound of Flesh. Increases the chance of finding a health globe by 25%, and you gain 100% additional life from health globes. Very nice for getting into the thick of it, especially, honestly, it could be used for any build. I was going to say for defensive builds, but it could also be used for offense. If you're going in cleaving things left and right and a globe drops, that is going to bring you right back up real fast. If you're very defensive, it's helpful. Although if you're defensive, you may not need it as much, depending upon how much damage you end up taking. Looks like this does not have a simple tooltip, so let's move on. Critical hit chance increased by 5%, critical hit damage increased by 50%. And this is what I was talking about before too, some abilities are triggered off of crits, so having a passive like this, which naturally gives you a 5% crit chance, as well as increasing the damage you do when you crit, is very nice. Once again, no simple tooltip for this one. Looks like a lot of the Barbarian's abilities are very technical, apparently, because they did not decide to include the basic, easy-to-follow tooltips. Alright, you don't take a lot of damage in the beta, so we're just going to go with Ruthless, get my critical chance up. Now, passives, like actives, when you switch them, incur a 30-second cooldown. So I'm going to be stuck with Pound the Flesh here for 30 seconds. But I did want to show you that. So you can't just constantly swap out passives, much like the active abilities. You have to pick one and then go with it for a while.
The ancient smile on me.
This Barbarian has been rather fun. Very weighty. I'm just love bashing things in the head. I'm just go ahead and go down for now. Getting close to the Skeleton King here. So what I'll probably have to do is make another video that showcases the abilities that you get past level 10. It's been nice to see that my experience has been pretty quick here in this playthrough, of course partially because I do have a lot of plus experience gear. And of course things die quickly when you have high damage weapons. So, with my love for destroying random objects, I never have a want for fury, that's for sure. Just bash the random ashes, you know, defile the remains of former loved ones. I'm noticing a trend between my characters. So I may not have done a very good job of explaining the differences between two-handed and single one-handed, dual-wielding and all that. To be honest, I haven't done a lot of looking into the math behind them. There's a lot more people that can tell you much better than I can on the various forums, again, the official forums or on Diablo fans. I was just hoping to give kind of a quick synopsis. I know the general theory, how it works, and I can see the potential behind it. Again, melee classes are not exactly my strongest suit. Even in Warcraft, I've pretty much played casters. My melee characters were mostly tanks, so I didn't worry about DPS. I mainly worried about survivability. So, kind of a different philosophy there. Of course, what's interesting is you can always build a defensive barbarian with a sword and board and pick up a monk friend that can heal.
Keep your distance from him. This burden is mine to bear. May death bring peace from your madness, Leoric.
Traitors! Even in death, the armies of Condorus will still obey their king, even if you will not.
Crawl back to your mother. I took no joy from killing you. Time to die.
Alright. Sorry, I had to taunt him a little bit.
We shall put you down, Hellspawn!
As much as I like my stomp, I really do wish I had leap attack. I really like that ability, being able to go wherever I want very quickly. Unfortunately, your next skill slot's not unlocked until level 12. Apparently I can make stone bleed. That's a trend carryover from Warcraft, I'm sure. Remember when they first implemented the ability to make undead and ghosts and golems bleed, people were like, well, where does the blood come from? Understandable, really. Although their reasoning behind it, and is also very understandable, is if you don't allow a warrior or a barbarian to use his effects like bleeds, you essentially cripple their damage, make them useless in certain environments. I'm sure none of us want to be in a location that has a lot of undead or a lot of supernatural enemies that don't have blood in their systems and not be able to use a build that we want to use. So, it's one of those things that kind of kills the suspension of disbelief, but, you know, gameplay over realism. Not that these have ever been realistic games, right? Right, big circle. Very good. Well, at least I get to Leoric one level higher than I did on my mage. So, one thing I've learned from killing Leoric over and over again on my mage is the drop rate of items on him is not very high. And I was talking on my Starflare playthroughs that, yes, farming bosses is not the quickest way to get items anymore. Now granted, they may have an increased chance to drop, but they're not the only things that you can kill for items anymore. So instead of just going through a game and killing one or all the bosses over and over again, you can go through higher difficulties, destroy a vase, destroy a skeleton, go through and kill a boss again for fun. Doesn't matter what you want to do, just do it. You have the equal chances of finding magical items, doing whatever it is you want to do.
We have just arrived in Tristram. I must say, I'm a bit dismayed. This place is a backwater filled with serfs and an ancient broken-down monastery, hardly fit for the king of Pandorus. I cannot fathom why Lazarus was so intent on this becoming our new seat of power.
I could give my follower some things. Items like Magic Find will work with your follower. They'll stack up with you. I'm not really too interested in gearing him out right now since things are dying pretty good. But honestly, when I've killed him again, there was one time he dropped, I believe, just a gray and a white. Other times he has dropped one blue or more. Hasn't dropped more rares. But apparently, he will drop at least 2 rares, or at least 1 rare each time you kill him the first time.
Defeat me!
You were defeated the moment you surrendered to madness.
So if you want to farm rare items in the beta, just make a new character, kill the Skeleton King, delete it, and start over again.
My pack is full.
Oh, I'm full, am I? Very good. Well, I'll worry about that. Leoric first. Immune to stun, as I figured he would be. But I can still use it against his minions. Well, 2 rares again with 2 blues. Okay, so that means I need to clear room with 4 items here. Not bad. What sells low? 15, 14, 8, that can go. Leveling my blacksmith has proven to be kind of expensive. So I can use all the gold I can get. There we go. Alright, and what video would be complete without showing off the loot? Rare boots generate life, 5% magic find, addition 7 more life from globes, and gold pickup by 2 yards. Not really that great, but not bad. I can use that on other characters. Attack speed increase, very nice. Regenerate 1 life, 6% magic find, and gold and globe pickup by 2 yards. Very nice. Alright. Well, this has been Kagekaze, with finishing off the Barbarian play with Dushar, and I'll see you next time.